Contrary to popular belief, it turns out that Christians actually require the same level of reason in order to trust and have faith in something as everyone else. You know, considering all that's happened over the last couple of 100 years, it's no real wonder that religion died, because it just became this emotional clusterfuck for most people. Most people nowadays just approach it like it's some sort of emotional crutch, something to hold them up when they're feeling down. And, you know, you really wonder why men, with our disdain for such emotional games, have come to dislike it on such a wide and almost omnipresent level. This phenomenon over the West that I'm describing is known as Moralistic, Therapeutic Deism. Now, what I aim here with this channel to do, and in my own life, is to come to a far more reasoned approach. Something that does actually use logic and reason in what it actually is, which I will proceed to describe in this video. Now, as it relates to religion, I'm going to release a video in a couple of weeks on specifically what I did to transition from atheism to theism. But here we're going to describe the general structure in terms of discerning whether or not you should trust in something. And that will be a basic description on how to use logic in what is known as a syllogistic sense. A syllogism being a collection of 1. Premises, 2. Conclusions, and 3. The actual logic in the middle. So there are 3 steps to the process of performing syllogistic logic. First of all, you build your premises, which is where you take something that you've observed out in the world and you write it down on paper. For example, you could observe that men have eyes. The second one you do is you assign a conclusion at the bottom. So, concluding based on the fact that all men have eyes, or men have eyes, therefore men have the ability to see things. And then finally, number 3, you test that against the laws of logic. The primary ones being the law of non-contradiction, which is A will never equal not A. The law of the excluded middle, A plus B equals B plus A. And the law of identity, that A will always be A. Now, if the premises are true in the given world that we're describing, then the conclusion will always be true or false, based on the logic, if those premises are true. We therefore call this logically valid. It does not necessarily mean that it is always true. For example, you have the premises that your housemate is a drunk, he made a lot of noise last night, and is passed out on the floor this morning. Now, you know that being passed out on the floor and making a lot of noise in the night is associated with being drunk, and you know that your housemate drinks, and therefore it's a logically valid conclusion to come to the fact that he was drunk last night. But he could also have had a heart attack, he could have also taken some mad weed, right? So, you don't know for absolute certain, but considering those premises alone, then you can make a logically valid conclusion that your housemate was probably drunk. Now, one thing to note, you can know things for certain through these things, provided you have all of the premises and you have a completely objective view of the world, which, although most of us struggle with that, we can do it for simple things. Now, as I've just said, it may have happened that your housemate came across some really mad skunk, and that was why he was passed out on the floor. And when you logically reassess it, you'd do it based on the fact that he stinks of herb, as opposed to the fact that he smells of some sort of own brand vodka. Let's say that he's really classy and he goes to Waitrose. Now, if he smells of dank ganja instead, then it's going to make a lot more sense that he was actually completely off his tits. So you'd come to that conclusion instead. Now, of course, this isn't a particularly descriptive video, and there's way more to it. And so I recommend to you a book called Formal Logic by Joseph Dopp, which goes into detail about logic without all of the crazy algebraic symbols that you've seen. Now, the importance of this is that it can be applied to everything. It can be applied to physics, it can be applied to social situations, it can be applied to God, it can be applied to ethics. It exists everywhere. It is an innate fact of the universe that everything follows the laws of logic. And when something contradicts, there is always a premise that you are missing, or the person is lying to you, which in itself is another premise. So always listen to it, and get good at it. This is only an introduction and is not sufficient. Go and look up formal logic books. Thank you very much for watching. A very big thank you to those on the list here. These are subscribers to the Renaissance Man program who get audiobooks and controversial videos every week for $5 a month. There's already quite a lot of content there, so if you check it out in the description, you won't be missing out. Thank you.